I signed up for the class on impulse. 6 weeks of Thursday evenings, learning to throw pottery in a converted warehouse studio across town. I told myself it was about trying something new, about using my hands for something other than typing emails. I didn't admit even to myself that I was lonely. Asterisk the first night. There were 12 of us crowded around demonstration tables. Watching the instructor, a woman named Claire, center a lump of clay with practice deficiency. She explained wedging, talked about air bubbles and structural integrity. I took notes I'd never look at again. Asterisk for those interested in more intensive instruction. She announced at the end, I offer private sessions with my colleague, Daniel. He works with students who want to move faster or need more individual attention. Asterisk, I found his card on the bulletin board as I left. Called him the next morning. The studio door was unlocked when I arrived the following Tuesday. I pushed it open to find a long, sun-filled space with wheels arranged along the windows and shelves of vessels in various stages of completion. Everything smelled of wet earth and possibility. Asterisk, Sarah. I turned. He was washing his hands at a deep sink, clay sliding down his forearms. Tall, maybe 40, with dark hair graying at the temples and a faded blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up. When he smiled, I felt something shift in my chest. That's me, I managed. Daniel. He dried his hands and crossed to shake mine. His grip was firm, warm, and left the slightest trace of moisture on my palm. Claire said you're a complete beginner. Asterisk, completely complete. Asterisk, he laughed. Good, no bad habits to unlearn. Come on, I've got a wheel set up for you. Asterisk, he led me to a station by the windows where afternoon light pooled golden on the concrete floor. 2 wheels sat side by side, close enough that the stools nearly touched. A bucket of water stood between them, and several mounds of prepared clay waited on a wooden board. Asterisk first rule, said, settling onto his stool. Clay is honest. It shows you exactly where you're tense, where you're forcing, where you're afraid. You can't lie to it. Asterisk sounds terrifying. Asterisk it is. Skoy smiled again. Also addictive. Here, sit. I sat on the stool beside him, and immediately our knees bumped. Sorry, said, pulling back. Asterisk, don't worry about it. We're going to be close. That's how this works. He reached for a lump of clay and set it on his wheel. Watch first. I watched. His hands moved with absolute certainty, cupping the clay, coaxing it upward, pressing it down again. Water slicked his fingers. The wheel hummed steadily. In 30 seconds, had a perfectly centered mound rising and falling under his palms, like something breathing. Asterisk, your turn, he said. Asterisk, he handed me clay, and I slapped it onto my wheel the way he had. Started the motor, touched my wet hands to the spinning earth and felt it immediately fight me, wobbling off-center, resisting every attempt at control. Asterisk, hey, it's okay, Daniel said. He'd moved his stool closer when had he done that. May I? I nodded, not trusting my voice. His hands covered mine, wet and warm and sure. Feel that? You're gripping too hard, trying to muscle it. Clay doesn't respond to force. Its breath was close to my ear. Gentle pressure, steady. Let it come to center on its own. Asterisk with his hands over mine, the clay suddenly made sense. It rose smooth and true, centered perfectly. I could feel his chest against my shoulder blade. Feel the way he breathed slowly, deliberately. Asterisk there, he said softly. Feel that? Asterisk? Yes. Asterisk, that's what you're looking for. That moment when it stops fighting you. Asterisk, he pulled his hands away, and immediately the clay wobbled off-center again. I laughed, frustrated. Asterisk, it's okay. It takes time. Here he stopped my wheel, recentered my clay with 3 efficient movements, started it again. Try again. And Sarah. Asterisk, yeah. Breathe. You're holding your breath. Asterisk, I hadn't realized. I exhaled, inhaled, matched my breathing to the rhythm of the wheel. This time when I touched the clay, it felt different. Still difficult, but not impossible. Asterisk Daniel moved back to his own wheel but stayed close, our elbows nearly touching as we worked. Every few minutes he'd glance over, make a small suggestion. More water. Support it from inside. Once, he reached across to adjust the angle of my wrist, and his forearm brushed against mine, slick with slip. Asterisk by the end of the hour. I'd managed to center the clay 3 times and had thrown something that might charitably be called a bowl. Asterisk, good. Daniel said, and the simple praise warmed me more than it should have. Really good for a first session. Same time next week. Asterisk, definitely. The second lesson began the same way, me fumbling, him watching patiently. But this time, when he moved close to help, I was ready for it. Ready for the warmth of him, the smell of clay, and something else. Something clean and cedar-like. Ready for the way my pulse quickened when his hands covered mine. Asterisk, you're tense again, he said, and his thumbs pressed gently against the backs of my hands. Here, let go. Asterisk, I did. Let my hands go soft under his. Let the clay rise and fall. Let myself stop trying to control everything. Asterisk, better, he murmured, and I felt the word against my neck like a touch. Asterisk, we worked like that for 20 minutes, his hands guiding mine. Our bodies so close, I could feel the heat of him through my thin shirt. He taught me to open the clay, to press my thumbs into the center and pull the walls up slowly. Steadily. Asterisk. It's all about the pull, he said. His fingers curved around mine, showing me the angle, the pressure. You're not pushing it into shape. You're inviting it. When he finally pulled away, I felt the absence like cold air. I threw 3 bowls that session. But what I remembered later was the way his hand had steadied my elbow. The way he'd leaned across me to demonstrate something, his arm brushing my collarbone. The way he'd smiled when I finally got it right. By the 4th lesson, something had shifted between us. Asterisk, he still taught me was learning, genuinely learning, getting better each week. But now when he stood behind me to adjust my posture, his hands lingered on my shoulders. When he showed me how to trim a pot sitting side by side at the trimming wheel, our thighs pressed together and neither of us moved away. Asterisk, you have good hands, he said one evening, watching me shape a vase. Strong but sensitive. Asterisk, I looked up and found him closer than I'd expected. Close enough to see the clay dust in his hair, the warmth in his dark eyes. Asterisk, Daniel said, and didn't know how to finish the sentence. Asterisk, I know, he said quietly. He reached out and wiped a smudge of clay from my cheekbone with his thumb. The gesture was so tender it made my chest ache. I know. Asterisk, we sat there, wheels silent, my half-formed vase between us. This is complicated, I said. Yes, asterisk, I don't want to stop coming here. Asterisk, I don't want you to stop. His hand moved from my face to my shoulder, resting there with careful weight. But Sarah, I need you to understand this isn't something I do. With students, asterisk, I know. And I did know. I could feel it in the way he'd been so careful with me, so deliberately professional even as the air between us grew charged. Me neither. I've never asterisk, what do we do? He asked, and the vulnerability in his voice undid something in me. Asterisk, I turned on my stool to face him fully. Our knees touched. Keep being honest? I said, like the clay. Asterisk, he smiled at that, just a little. His hand slid from my shoulder down my arm, leaving a trail of slip. Like the clay, he agreed. Asterisk, I reached up and touched his face, my clay-covered fingers tracing his jaw. He closed his eyes. Sarah, he breathed. Is this okay? Asterisk, yes. He caught my hand, pressed it against his cheek. Yes. Asterisk, we stayed like that for a long moment, hands touching, breath mingling. Balanced on the edge of something neither of us had planned. Then slowly, giving me every chance to pull away, he leaned forward and kissed me. Asterisk, it was gentle at first, questioning. I answered by pressing closer, my clean hand finding the back of his neck. He made a sound low in his throat and pulled me toward him, my stool scraping across the concrete. His hands found my waist, steadying me, holding me. Asterisk, when we finally broke apart. We were both breathing hard. Well, I said shakily. That was overdue, he finished. I laughed, and he kissed me again. Longer this time. His hands moved up my back, and I could feel the clay transferring from his skin to my shirt, marking me. I didn't care. Eventually we had to stop. Had to sit back, flushed and stunned, staring at each other in the dimming studio light. We should clean up, he said, but made no move to let go of my hand. We should, Sarah. Yeah. Next week. Will you come back? I looked at our joined hands, at the clay drying between our fingers, binding us. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll come back. He smiled then, brilliant and relieved, and pulled me up from my stool. We walked to the sink together, our shoulders touching, and washed the clay from our hands under warm, running water. His fingers laced through mine under the stream. And I felt that same centering I'd felt at the wheel that moment when